What's up, Automation Nation? It's Justin Morgan here of automationmastery.net, here to help you automate your business, master your destiny so you can master your impact. I hope everybody is doing well and that today's episode is for anybody, any coach or speaker out there who's been like me. And let's just say you got your butt whooped. You don't know how you got your butt whooped, but you got your butt whooped. And this is what happened to me, right? So again, as everybody starts out, right? Like I talk about sites and systems and things like that. And early on, again, you have this vision of what's essentially the white picket fence of business, right? The white picket fence of business is a website. So everybody sets out to have a website. Once you have a website, you've made it, right? You're officially in business. You're officially an entrepreneur. It's the same thing like once you have a white picket fence, you have a family, you've achieved the American dream, everything is good. At least that's how it used to be. Right. But now, one, even if you find a white picket fence, doesn't really mean that there's harmony going on inside of that fence. That fence may be more of a cage than it is a source of protection, if that makes any sense. Okay. And so your business and your website sometimes is the same thing. Your website starts out like it's this freeing thing, like it's this thing that is a symbol of success. And so for me, right, I thought I needed that symbol of success. So what do I go do as a speaker? I needed to make my website about me, right, about my brand. So I go and I set up on this platform. I mean, people may have heard of it. It's called WordPress. And WordPress is great, right? WordPress is great. WordPress has a lot of customization at that time. So I could go in, I can do anything. I can add all these plugins. I could choose a theme. It could be free or I can pay for it. So, I'm like, well, I can do a lot of fancy stuff. I'm looking at all these pieces of software. So I get pieces of software, I get my plugins. I go and I invest in this theme that costs money. So I spent money on that. I set the theme up. And, I thought I had it to where I needed to be until it came time to test it. I was like, well, it's not really working. And then, as I talked about before, I got my big opportunity, right? So this big event was coming up. So I knew that was like, all right, well, this website has to be battle ready, right? This website has to be battle ready. In order to be battle ready, the theme I had on it before, it wasn't really ready. Like it wasn't working. So I try to add in what was called another plugin. So if you don't know what a plugin is like an extra tool, right? Or it's an extra accessory. So, think of the website as your outfit, right? The plugin could be a ring. It could be a necklace. It could be some earrings. Could be a hairpiece. It could be a hat. Could be some fancy shoes, right? It's kind of an extra thing to add to the experience, right? It's an add-on. Okay. And so I added on some plugins to the theme. So again, the theme is just what it is, right? So like you have a certain theme when you're getting dressed, like certain color, certain style. Maybe it's denim, maybe it's khaki, maybe it's fancy, maybe it's casual, whatever the theme is, it's the same thing. So you have the theme, which is the main thing, and the plugins enhance that theme, kind of giving it extra functionality, right? I needed to set that thing up. I needed to add in all the extra functionality, and it wasn't working. It wasn't working. It's the same thing as if you had an outfit that clashed, right? If you had a tool that didn't work, didn't fit in the right way, it's the same thing. It just wasn't working. I did not have the well-oiled machine that I needed. And I was spending a lot of time, like a frustrating amount of time. I remember sitting there and it being, I think it was like a Friday or Saturday morning. I'm like, well, Saturday morning, I got some time, right? Set aside, at that point in time. I think my wife and I weren't married yet. Okay. So, I had some time there. I think she was off doing her thing or she was just leaving me be to get work done. So I just remember I had all this time set. I was like, all right, today, Justin, I'm going to set aside this time. I'm going to knock this thing out. I'm going to get this site to work. I don't care what it's going to take. I'm going to spend whatever it takes. I'm going to get it done. I'm good enough. It's not going to matter. I'm not going to take forever on this. Saturday passes. Can't get it done. Sunday passes. I can't get it done. WordPress whooped my behind. And this is after I bought all these extra plugins, like after I spent money, probably a couple $100 on additional plugins on top of what I had already spent trying to get something to work. And it still didn't work. So what did I then have to do? Get help. Now, we know that help is not free, especially if you want fast help. And so I had to hire this guy. I went on, I think it was Fiverr.com or Upwork.com. And I remember, if you didn't know, usually you go hire somebody from overseas. And when you're working with those people, if you've ever done it before, there's this thing that's called a language barrier. So it kind of turns into these awkward conversations where I'm saying one thing, he's saying something back. He's calling me honey, even though I am clearly a man. In U.S. culture, we don't call men honey. I don't know why they do that, but that's the thing. Okay, so this is the exchange. This is the exchange. And so after a while of going back and forth, I tell him what I need, and he's like, "All right, well, it's going to be, I think, a few $100 at that point in time. It's going to take this long." And then he tells me, "Well, your theme will not work with what you want, so you need to go buy this one." I'm like, so I got to spend more money? Like, I didn't spend enough as it was? I got to hire you now? And come on. But I'm like, for speed's sake, let's just go ahead and do that. So I spend all that money. And when it came time for that event to come, right, I think I was sitting there the first day and I was waiting at the side of the room, right? So I was kind of near the window, off to the left side of the room. I'm not that far from the stage. So there's people behind me. So, I don't want to be embarrassed that I'm still working on my website. So I turned my laptop to the side, or I had the top cocked down. So that way it was harder for people to see, like I was keeping some dangerous secret. Really just didn't want to be embarrassed. And I remember, I'm messaging him back on whatever platform I hired him on. It's like, "Oh yeah, it should be done. Go check it." And I go to check it, I go through and I try to go through each page and kind of go to test the checkout. And it still wasn't working. Wasn't working. WordPress had officially whooped my butt. And more importantly, it whooped my wallet. It's as if Father Time himself came into the room, kicked me in the gut, left me on the floor, and then walked out. That's how bad it was. Right? And I tell that story not just because I want to complain about how much time WordPress took, but just at that point, again, just kind of reflecting, I understand, right? One principle of automation and one principle of setting things up is it's not always about how fancy of a tool you get or how much money you spend. It's about using the tools that you have in a way that works. So the powerful thing when I talk about systems and talk about focusing on systems, it's not just about getting the fancy tool. It's not just about spending money on all the best pieces of software. It's about doing what you can in that moment. It's about working with the tools that actually help you. Again, I wish I had known that I should have been spending time on the system I needed in place in order to make that event work instead of focusing on this intricate website setup. Like it just was too much, right? It was too much, and it distracted me from the time and effort I needed to ultimately work on my presentation at that big opportunity. So the next big opportunity that you have, just remember, not sites, focus on systems. A website can be a system, but is not the system, right? It's not the system by itself. A website can be a system, but it may not be your system by itself. A website can be a system, but it's not always going to be the system that works in your situation. So just keep that in mind. I appreciate y'all. Make sure you share this with podcasts and this message with a friend, family member, or a foe because they need this information too. I appreciate you. And as usual, treat each day as a building block to a better future. Peace.